Whoops. Sorry, team. Give me 1 second here. I had a little bit of a glitch. That's weird. Hang on.
Your camera's not on.
Why is my camera not on? Enjoy this freeze frame. Temporarily. Oh, you know why? Because my phone was on. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Dork Discourse, where we don't know what we're doing. Where is my webcam? Here we go. Properties. FaceTime HD camera.
Switch it. Go back to it.
Properties.
Switch it to the other one. Just click on it and then switch back.
Whoops. Hello.
And then click OK.
Yay, please. Yay. Well, what a way to kick off stream. Sorry about that, everybody. Thank God that was at least not the most unflattering freeze frame. It could have been way worse, y'all. That could have been... Speaking as the person who edits my own videos, I do not take great candids. I do not have the best freeze frame. So that was at least not horrific. Anyway, welcome. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It is Dork Discourse Tuesday. Get up!
Yes.
Sorry.
Hello.
Apologies,
Salutations.
folks. It's been a hot minute. It feels like it's been forever, but we only skipped 1 week, to be honest. I didn't want to say it prior because I didn't want to necessarily dox our location or Alex's location for that matter. But we met up with Alex and we went to Hans Zimmer performing at Crypto.com Arena last Tuesday evening, and it was perhaps the greatest night of my life. It was so amazing, so incredible.
Yeah, highly recommend if you get the opportunity to go see Hans live in the flesh with his whole orchestra and band and all the live instrumentals. I mean, incredible experience. So I highly recommend. Hearing Interstellar in the flesh was an out-of-body experience. So highly recommend.
Yeah, I truly cried. And even if you know, the joy of it is that you are hearing live, you know, all the songs that you know and are familiar with and have heard, you know, across all his repertoire of films and whatnot. But even the ones, for example, like there were some songs that, you know, I'll just say it now because I'll probably film a reaction to it maybe on the channel eventually because this is so freaking shameful of me. But like, I've never seen Gladiator. I don't want to necessarily write you out either, but like we both
saw it a long time ago.
We both had tears like in our eyes. Just so incredible live. And it is not what you would expect, you know, thinking that it's just going to be a typical like orchestra, you know, experience, but it is so much more than that. They put on a freaking production. They could be on Broadway. Like it's really incredible. So that's where we were last week, this time last week. But it works out fine because this week we are able to do a little post-game recap and perhaps bring in the discourse into the properly named Dork Discourse podcast here because we're discussing the Rings of Power Season 2 finale, and unless your opinion has changed, Tom and I had some different thoughts about it, where we left off. and it has also been a few days. We've been able to simmer over it throughout the weekend and whatnot, and let it, marinate. So that's going to be a bulk of tonight's discussion, but we might talk about horror. We might talk about Penguin, which has been consecutively very good.
Yep.
But yes, wanted to do a follow-up on The Rings of Power, since it's the most pressing, and I think it was a very well-received finale, and I think the larger, just general buzz for this show is really heightened this season. Unfortunately, the momentum here of it gets really good, in my personal opinion. I think season 2 exceeded season 1, but now it's like we had 5 weeks worth of television and now we have to wait 2 years. So we're gonna milk as much of it as we can. So anyway, I'll read off some of the comments here. You guys are sounding off. Marissa, what's up? And also welcome if this is your first stream here.
Yeah. What's up, Marissa?
I thought the season was amazing. I hate that it's just 8 episodes. I know, literally. And I don't mind that, but when they dropped the first 3 in one night, which in my opinion, in hindsight, they did not have to do that. I thought the first episode was incredible on its own. I don't think there's any need, any dire necessity for the first 3 to be dropped in one evening, because then you only have 5 weeks left. That's like 1 month of watching and then it's over.
I'm all for them dropping every episode in one night.
What?
Yeah. So you can get it all. You get the whole story. But then in this case, it didn't really need it because it was pretty connected and good flow.
Yes.
There wasn't really any dips or filler or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty consistent, which really the whole show has been. It's just been a steady climb in stakes and, world building and character development. It's just been a steady climb, I think. So, in this case, it hasn't been painful going week to week, other than just anticipating seeing the continuation of the story. There's no like, what are they going to do with this? Like, how's that going to play out? Which is what generally happens with all of the Star Wars shows that come out on a week to week basis. You're like, but like, how's this going to play out? Like, does this make sense? Where are we going to go from here? Like, there's so many questions week to week where it just dominates your mind, or maybe I'm just talking about my mind, dominates my mind, versus it was just all dropped at once. It's like, okay, this is beginning, middle, end, bang, here we go.
I would make the argument that this show is probably the exception to that, because this is us advocating, at least me advocating, and I'll be the first one to always correct myself and play devil's advocate and say quantity does not equate to quality. However, when it comes to this show, I feel like you can be satisfied because the episodes are an hour and 12 minutes, and that's enough to satiate you, versus, for Star Wars Disney Plus, which this is not intended to turn into them pitting against each other, but 30 minutes of an episode ending on a cliffhanger versus what feels like you've just watched an hour-long mini TV movie. Very, very, very different. Everybody's sounding off here, so I'm going to try to read some more. Alice, of course, says Rings of Power is amazing.
Yep.
Absolutely amazing. Hi all. Season 1, 6 out of 10, says AO. Season 2 is an 8 out of 10. Season 3 can hit 8 to 9 out of 10 range if they keep up with the same pace of improvements. I 1000% agree, and this is perfectly advocating for the point that Amazon is proving, which is ride out the storm. First season obviously had a lot of critics. I'm not going to say that I don't necessarily disagree with them, but there were rightful critics, and then there was, of course, the secondary hate campaign just as soon as they announced the cast for the show in general. And, of course, there's the ongoing discussions of lore breaking and deviations from Tolkien's work, all of that stuff. I'm not going to get into that because at the end of the day, none of us are J.R.R. Tolkien and wouldn't know, can't speak for him. So, all that said, I think season 2 had so much more. I feel like people who disliked it kind of just dipped off, or genuinely, I think public favor just was enhanced this season. I think Sauron's, reveal and his presence being a huge, crucial part of that. the darker overall tone. You know, it's the pace now. Season 1 really felt like it was the exposition for what the show is meant to become, and season 2 is opening the can of worms that it's going to continue heading down a very dark path. You know, I was predicting with y'all that I didn't think season 2 was going to end on a lovely, peaceful, happy note. And in some ways, it kind of did. It ends a little bit optimistic. You know that the elves are thirsting for revenge and whatnot, but you also know that somebody in my comment section made a really good point. You know, this show is gonna, if it goes up to the point of, you know, the prologue of the Lord of the Rings films, that's not happy times. That's very dark stuff. So
no, they're not.
This entire show is not necessarily gonna maybe end on a pleasant note. So
until Isildur throws, ruins the whole thing. But
well,
anyway.
But I do think, from at least what I saw, I know people are gonna
shout out Kennard Pendarvis for subscribing.
Thank you. Just so people don't try to spin my words and use this as if it's an anecdote that I'm trying to justify across the entire fan base. But from what I saw on my channel here, and a lot of you guys observed it too, like, favor for season 2 is definitely heightened. And we were not so in the trenches of trying to ward off, you know, the people who were coming just to, you know, bash it unnecessarily. That is very different from having valid critiques, which I know many of you do have. I know the lore is a big deal. I know every other freaking day somebody comments telling me to actually read this book. It's like, why do you think I would have it here if I didn't? Like, so, you know, that's just bashing it unnecessarily and having valid criticism are two very different things. But I just think from the microcosm of our channel, opinions about season 2 were improved. So thank you, AO, for sharing your thoughts there.
Shout out Devlin for subscribing.
Yes, shout out. Dang.
Lights are going crazy.
Anatar, Lord of Gifts, says, I loved it. Well, of course you did. Alice says, Celebrimbor, my gosh, I needed a whole tissue box for real. It was so epic, but so sad at the same time. Even Sauron didn't look very much like he had to kill him. Well, it seemed, yes. I know, Celebrimbor this entire season, I think somebody else was saying, yes, Charlie's saying his actor killed it, deserves more than an award. Yes, I agree with that. We can delve into more, and I also, I want to maybe do like a season 2 overall review in hindsight, something more polished than just my not cohesive or coherent post-episode reaction reviews. So, you know, I will obviously cover a lot of ground of how we felt about the finale, and that's what I want to talk about, because I want to get your thoughts.
I know, you set the tease and then went off into divulging into the chat, but you teased everybody with the fact that we might have some legitimate discourse this evening, or morning, or wherever.
That remains to be seen. I'll let you set the stage for how you initially felt about the finale. Be honest.
You want me to set the stage? Yes. You don't want to set the stage?
Be honest.
You want me to set the stage?
Be honest.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, all in all, I think that the show is fantastic, and season 2 is fantastic, and just built on everything that happened in season 1. And the second to last episode of this season is one of the greatest pieces of things that I've ever watched my entire life.
That
said, where we left off in that arguably greatest thing I've ever watched in my life was that Sauron walks to the wall, open arms, like he is about to address and take over and make his grand reveal to all of the elves, all of the orcs, Adar, Gil-galad, all of them. He's going to make his grand reveal to everybody on the battlefield right as the sun is coming up. But then it just seems like a huge discontinuation to me when we get to the finale, because then he's back in the tower with Celebrimbor, and the whole scene of him killing him and all that stuff was, you know, incredible. It was great. But then the episode focuses on everybody else and Gandalf and the dwarves, and we get the Durin sacrifice, which is good, which is great. But then we don't see Sauron again until his little band of rebel orcs happen to find Galadriel and bring her to him. And then it just felt like the fight between them was great and like it was choreographed well. Then Galadriel getting stabbed with Morgoth's crown was, crazy. And then she cliff dives, self-sacrifice, which was incredibly emotional. But like I felt like what they were setting up to go into the finale was the grand Sauron, like, I am now taking over the entire orc army and all the elves are going to flee in terror. And like the Sauron that we see in the prologue of the Lord of the Rings, like I thought they were setting that up to happen at the end of the Battle of Eregion. But we didn't get it. They're saving it for later.
I was going to say, now that you say that, that could be an interesting, they could be setting that up as a potential parallel or more so juxtaposition to introduce season 3. The introduction of the Sauron iteration that we see at the very beginning of season 2. He's very much struggling and he's very much a phony. The orcs do not want to bend the knee and accept him, as their command. So
yeah,
to see that versus juxtaposed with what I think they could be setting up for season 3, to open season 2 with this kind of phony, weaker version of Sauron versus, here he is full-fledged seeking revenge, enslaving all the orcs, Adam's children.
Expecting that to happen in the finale because they were setting it up like they Adar betrayed Sauron 1,000 years ago, first part of the season, and then the end of the season, the reverse happens. The orcs betray Adar for Sauron, but it's just a small band of them. So like we get that full circle thing where Sauron finally got his revenge on Adar. But yeah, I was kind of expecting in the beginning of the season, all of the orcs except Adar. But in this case, we see the small band of orcs except Sauron. And then there's a quick shot of the rest of the orcs getting slaughtered by the dwarf army that shows up and then is gone in like 30 seconds. It's like such a quick shot of the dwarves coming to save the day. It was a fleeting moment. Like I feel like they spent a lot of time on the finale like jumping around to the dwarves and to Gandalf and Durin and focusing on like tying up the other plot lines as quickly as possible, versus really focusing on the meat of the story, which is the Battle of Eregion and the elves and Sauron and Galadriel and the rings. I feel like it was a little rushed in the end. Again, overall, we know eventually we're going to get the full might of Sauron commanding the entire army of Mordor, and they're going to wreak havoc on the realms of elves and men and dwarves, and they're all going to unite together. We know what's going to happen. I thought there'd be a little more of a dramatic reveal to the larger Middle-earth audience of Sauron in this finale based on the way that they set up kind of him walking to the wall in the second last episode. So that's where I'm at.
Meanwhile, Bob rolls in. This finale slaps. I agree, Bob. No,
and I do want to rewatch it because in my head I was like, while in real time watching the first time, it was very focused on like, okay, what's going to happen? Like, where are we going? How's this going to wrap up? Versus now that I know what happens, I think going back and rewatching it will be more about enjoying the moments that we do get and what actually happens. So I think that on second watch, I will
feel differently,
appreciate it much more. And regardless, even after one watch, I'm still thirsty for more Charlie Vickers, Sauron tormenting and torture and brutality, because it's just so good, and there's still so much that they still have to reveal and give to us. So all aboard, super pumped for season 3 when we get it. But I mean, for me, the second to last episode of this season was uh
Best episode of the whole show.
near perfection. Like, I don't know if you can create something that's more perfect than that, other than adding more Sauron.
But it also gives me so much hope, seeing the scale of the Siege of Eregion, that episode was truly, it truly felt like a movie, and it's just the beginning. This is just the tip of the larger iceberg. So far it seems to be not necessarily formulaic, but each season 1 leading up to this season, my favorite episode that I thought was the strongest was when Adar's army, falls on the Southlanders and they have to fight back. I thought that was like incredible. And then they just leveled it up this time around, where I'm like, that was child's play compared to the big climax, the penultimate episode of season 2. So to see that they're able to level it up just when I think it can't get any better, and we still have allegedly 3 more seasons to go, y'all, if and when this show comes to its full fruition, which I think it's not. I'm not spreading misinformation when I say that they are pretty dead set on completing it, the full 5 seasons. I think, based on what I've seen in the Twitterverse, the official renewing of season 3 and announcement is expected any day now. So, Jerry, what's up?
Jerry?
I'm a little late, but I made it this week. You're not late at all. Y'all are never late. You guys show up always right on time whenever you arrive, and we're just happy to have you here, especially since it's been a while. I feel like we haven't seen y'all in so long, even though we just took 1 week off. But yeah, there's definitely still, of course, Sauron still has a lot of weaseling that he's got to do among the men now, as everyone's alluding to. His next stop is friggin' Numenor, but frankly, I'm ready for him to just lay waste to that place, and I just want to see Farazan.
Yeah, which that's what they're setting up, obviously, and Lord Andarian says it perfectly. Like, the execution of Adar and taking over felt more like a battlefield coup than a grand reveal. Which, yeah, is exactly right. It was a small band of orcs that go and say, hey, we want you to lead us. We don't like where Adar is taking us. And it is a small coup where they they kill Adar. Now Sauron has their control and command. But it is a totally separate event than the real battle that's going on. So, what we see is that the dwarves come, and then they, with the elves, kind of take out and eliminate the rest of the orc threat, while presumably now Sauron and his small band of orcs will go to regroup, and then, now that he has the rings, the 9 rings for men, he'll make his way to Numenor, and we'll see what happens from that. So I think that's like, it makes sense. For me, the disappointment watching it for the first time was, okay, I felt like they were leading us to the grand reveal, so I wasn't really expecting. I was expecting the coup, and okay, the coup is really the entire orc army backing Sauron, kind of like they did with Adar, but it was really just a small set backing Sauron, and the rest of the army was dealing with the dwarves. So
yes, welcome to second Sean's words here. Wayne and Felipe. Wayne is watching from Philippines. Let's go. And Felipe says, "What's up? Just got here. I don't know what I lost, but did you guys like it or did you guys not like it?" Yes. So I personally loved it. Loved it upon first watch. And I also love, I was able to immediately be texting with my one brother who actually has been freaking watching the show. My other one, subtweeting him. He doesn't watch my live streams, but he'd better get on that. But I was immediately, we were, both freaking out over even just the first unit. Sometimes you just know when an episode's gonna hit. The introduction of this finale with Durin, the Balrog. I loved that. And I kind of wish it hadn't happened in the first 5 minutes there, because then so much other, shiz hits the fan and everything else ensues throughout the episode that you kind of forget about it. It kind of becomes secondary, but
it was also quick.
Yes, it's like quick closure for that.
All of the cutting to other areas were very quick. Balrog was very quick. Gandalf fending off the Dark Wizard, very quick. The rest of the Durin situation was very quick. Like everything else, it felt like all the individual pieces they were trying to wrap up was relatively quick in terms of screen time. So you're just kind of like, oh, well, that's how that ends. Okay.
Yes.
So you're right. They could have really flesh that out more probably if they had used time slots in other episodes to work it. But
That is,
yeah, it
yeah.
was in the beginning, and it was overall pretty quick sequence.
Yes,
You know?
that is one thing I will touch on. So yes, to answer Felipe's initial question, I liked it. Tom was a little more apprehensive on the first watch, but I think upon rewatch, he will appreciate it a little bit more. But I will say, and I'll probably address this and go into further detail about just why I feel this way when it comes to this season here. I think this show needs to start shedding some certain storylines because they were just building upon character arcs and storylines that they had already established from season one, while adding into the mix now you had Sauron and Celebrimbor, which of course wasn't present, but Sauron was with Galadriel, and then you still had Galadriel's own storyline. They were splitting into different. I do think this season needed to eliminate a storyline which I think has since is now seemingly wrapped up, seemingly conclusive, which is there's nothing against the Harfoots, but I feel like Nori in season one had so much more to offer, and that arc was way more pivotal versus how spread out it was across this second season here and how much thinner that story was overall. But it's clear that they're building and shifting to segue to now the Dark Wizard with Gandalf, and
Yeah.
and that is taking the helm. Perhaps I don't know if we're going to be seeing Nori and the Harfoots anymore, but I do think the show, when it starts to add in, new storylines now, it needs to subtract. Like, I do think they were juggling quite a lot, which at times would really feel like characters who had a lot more screen time in season one were stretched a little bit thin, or characters would have an entire episode seemingly dedicated to them and then wouldn't show up again until a few episodes later. I do think, hopefully going forward with the show, they start peeling certain things back, or certain storylines will like mesh together. I think the elves going forward, like Galadriel, Elrond, Gil-galad now, like, is kind of go time. Like, I don't foresee necessarily. I mean, I don't know. They probably will split up to do what they have to do. But I think what I'm trying to say is they're going to start simplifying things, because Sauron's going to be in Numenor. We have the elves now. They're teaming up. They're regrouping. We still have the Southlanders and the men and the Numenorians and frickin' Kemen, who's come on over here to our shores to, start their reign over here in Middle Earth. So, but that would be my biggest, and
Well, they already did cut off the Nori storyline and like a very quick scene of dialogue after Gandalf fended off the Dark Wizard. She was like, "I don't need you anymore," and he was like, "Yeah, you're right." And then it was like they cut ties. So I think that Nori and the Harfoots they did end it in the finale. It seems like it to me. That's what I was getting from that scene, where they basically acknowledged, like, yeah, we did what we needed to do. I have my own path now, but I don't want it to hurt you and negatively impact you, so you go on your own path. And then she's going to leave the Harfoots to salvation in the Shire, and the hobbits will live there in peace until we get to the Third Age, and then Bilbo ruins everything. So I think in my mind they have cut ties, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if we don't see the Harfoots ever again, because next season they have Gandalf learning his wizard powers against a dark wizard, and then there's plenty to chew on with the elves and the Southlanders, and Sauron making his way to Numenor. So between those storylines, like, that makes up an entire season. At this point, Nori's whole storyline was tied to Gandalf. Gandalf's on his own path now. I think in the creators' minds, the storyline is done. I think you're gonna
yeah.
get your wish.
Well, it's not like I wish for that to be over with, but I do feel like, not that the season suffered because of it, but that was such an outlier to the overarching story. And now that we do have the reveal of reveals, the answer to the biggest question of all is this Gandalf. Now that we have that confirmation, it's signed, sealed, delivered. I feel like that needs to start getting more integrated with the larger storyline. It has felt very much on the outside, kind of like outside looking in, not necessarily correlating with anything else going on, versus Numenor, the men, elves, Sauron, that all has been, working cohesively. It all has some sort of infinity relationship to go back and forth, and they're all related, versus the Harfoot arc always felt just a little bit deviating from all of that. So, such an outlier. So, and I think that storyline, and it like it suffered a little bit this season, because they of course were then dedicating way more time to like Sauron and Eregion with
as they should.
Well, yeah,
that's the main event.
Well, this is
they should suffer. Everyone's gonna suffer in comparison to Sauron.
That's our personal opinion, because I know so many people watch this show solely for the Harfoots, and that is their favorite arc.
Who?
People on Twitter.
Who? Anyone in the chat watching this show for the Harfoots?
People online. Some people, that is their favorite arc. Who are we to...
Who? The actor for the Harfoots?
Oh my god. People are allowed to have their favorite elements of this show, whether we agree with it or not. And I am
not disagreeing. I just haven't seen anything or anyone say that the Harfoots are their favorite part about the show.
I am on Twitter.
If they are, great. If it is, if Nori's your favorite character, then
there are some, says AO.
There are some. All right, AO is a Harfoot. AO's team Harfoot. So AO, I'm sorry that in all likelihood the Harfoots.
Few, but there are. I read that in Yoda's voice for some reason. Few, but there are. Yes. So, anyways, depends on your friend circle. Exactly. See, open mind. That is all to say, though, and I'll probably try to do a better deep dive of explaining that in my overall season 2 review when that comes out, because I would like to do one. But that for me was probably, my biggest thing about this season, and it contributes to your point about the finale. Yes, when you dedicate the most amazing penultimate episode to the entirety of the Siege of Eregion, and you don't deviate from that, and you don't cut away, and you stay there the whole time so that it feels like a movie and it's very continuous and cohesive. Yep. Then of course you have to try to put a bow on everything else, which I expressed in my reaction. I was like shocked that they did it, and of course they do have the luxury of not everything has to be as concrete, the most closure possible, because it's going to a larger story. This is all an ongoing, it's not over. So that goes to say, though, I agree with, I forget who said it earlier, but I do think maybe these seasons would benefit from even just one other episode, thrown into the mix to draw some of those things out. So like we were saying, Durin's father's sacrifice, it was like some of the most amazing, I had chills, literally like cried upon rewatching it. And I was like so freaking excited for you to watch it, because for those who don't know, the system is I would film my reactions, either it be at midnight or at 8 a.m. the next day, waking up early to watch it, and then get my video out all before Tom would be able to come home and watch the episode. So I would get to watch it and get it out of my system, and then rewatch it with you. No. So I would know how epic it was, and I would have digested it, and then I get just giddy sitting over there waiting for you. No. So, anyways, I just want to acknowledge Kaina's comment here. I botched your pronunciation, I'm sorry. Interesting listening, New Catherine.
Kaina?
I almost... Kaina. Kahina.
Kahina.
Almost suspected you for being a paid shill, but you seem like a genuine human. That's the goal. I wish I was paid, y'all. Listen, like, I'm flattered that people do think I am. That I would listen. No. This is all genuine. If I ever were to be paid, I would still speak my truth, but all this is to say, I do wish there were maybe one more episode in the mix, because especially in this finale, while I was shocked that they were able to address everything and put a bow, half bow on some things while still planting seeds, for Elendil, for example, for, Isildur, he doesn't get his girl, Kemen is now going over to wreak havoc with the Southlanders. Yeah, well, this is just the needle in a large haystack of where his character's gonna go, but
Isildur! Toss it into the fire!
any upcoming Halloween videos coming. That was like the whole theme of this month, y'all. Now that Rings of Power's over, that was gonna be like the one non-horror film related video on this channel. So the whole rest of this month,
Last of Us season 2 trailer.
the docket. Ugh, it's too late for that. I think
That's kind of horror, Halloweenish.
a little bit.
Last of Us.
Yes. But I haven't seen any like buzz about it. I feel like it
Neither have
dropped.
I just saw that the trailer came out. I haven't even watched it
I
yet.
feel like it dropped, but I've not seen anybody
seen the trailer.
talking about it. Let us know if you did watch it, The Last of Us season 2. That's just the other thing. When it takes 2 years for shows to come back up, the exorcism just dropped. Exorcism. The momentum drops off. I read Jerry's comment at the same time as that. My brain did a little switcheroo. How did you sleep, Kat, after watching The Exorcist? Y'all will be pleased to know I watched that with my channel members. Shout out to them for the virtual moral support. I watched that on a Wednesday so that I could stay up that Wednesday night and capitalize on the insomnia to stay up till midnight to watch Rings of Power. Y'all, I fell asleep at 9:30 p.m. that night and slept like a baby, slept like a rock. I think it genuinely just knocked the life out of me. I was just emotionally exhausted. And I slept fine. You know what I haven't slept since I watched? The motherfucking Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That reaction is gonna be going up next Monday, I think.
Huh?
What's this? After Exorcist, this Friday is gonna be Nightmare on Elm Street. Yes, and then it will be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on this coming Monday, and then that Friday will be Evil Dead, which was not originally on my roster, but a lot of you guys requested that. So that's just three
Lots of goodies. Lots of goodies.
There's still a few more that I've not yet plotted course for the rest of this month, but I'm trying to squeeze in as many as I can. But yeah, I haven't freaking slept since that one, Texas Chainsaw. So brace yourselves for that. Anyways, season 2 overall, very long-winded answer to the question forever ago, which was, did we like the finale? I liked it from the start. Tom, I think, took some more convincing. Yeah, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies were based on a true event. No kidding. I freaking read into it. I didn't know that until 48 hours before I watched that movie. This is why I joined. I loved your reaction to The Exorcist. Oh, thank you. I know I'm nervous I've wanted to do Reactober. I've told you probably every year on the channel for so long, and I just have never committed because I don't like horror movies. But I was like, this is my year. And so I started like banking all these videos like in September, y'all, to have to get ready to post for this month. And I've never watched this much horror content, but now I'm a little bit nervous because I was like, am I establishing a new audience who are going to expect more horror content from me year round? Am I going to have to watch a horror movie every month now, even if it's not Halloween?
And then you'll have Wintertober, Christmastober, and you can watch all the Christmas movies. Be nice and cheerful and happy and peaceful. Watch all the Santa Claus
We're
movies.
going to watch the holiday special. That's what we're going to do.
Or that too.
But yes, so that's what's on the rest of the docket for this month, for some horror content. And of course, if I can get around to, which I want to, my Rings of Power season 2 review. And then of course getting to Legend of Korra, which I need to freaking do. That is on my docket. I swear, y'all, I'm gonna finish that show before the end of this year, which is coming up close, y'all. It is already about mid-October, which, sweet Jesus.
What?
It just hit me that then after October, it's just November and December.
Yeah.
And I've got some exciting videos planned for November, y'all. Stay tuned. More vlogs in store, I hope. So yes.
Yeah. So overall, finale, you're all on board with.
Yes, was from the start.
I think I liked it still. It's not that I didn't like it. It was just a little, I was, like whoever said earlier, was expecting the grand reveal versus the small coup around Sauron. But it just means that the grand reveal is going to be, I guess, likely after, as part of the fall of Numenor, when the men fall victim to his rings, and then he has dominated the realm of men. and dwarves, I would expect, is when we finally get the big grand reveal. But I don't know. I've never read that book over there, so I don't have any idea for what the actual lore is for this age of Middle Earth time.
Unfortunately,
So
not much from that book actually makes it in.
yeah.
What I do want to read is the actual book, The Fall of Numenor, which is the compilation of all the kind of bits and excerpts that talk about that, because I think that's pretty paints a pretty clear picture of where this is going to go. So I would like to maybe read that. I've got 2 years now between now and whenever we get the 3rd season. But hopefully our Farazan gets fed to that huge sea creature by the Falar. Oh, I cannot wait for whatever the frick happens to him. I'm so freaking ready. Still nervous for what they've got up their sleeve next season, but I'm ready for Sauron to go over there. You know, it was heartbreaking this season watching him torment and emotionally manipulate Celebrimbor, but now I hope we get to watch the same degree of that for Farazan next season. Put it on replay and just do it with a character that I dislike so much more. Yeah. That's nothing against the actor, by the way. I always have to say this to back it up, because I know on the internet people can get confused and mixed up, and just because I say I don't like a character, that does not mean I dislike the performer who is portraying that role. If anything, if I despise a character, it means I respect the actor.
Yeah, I feel like the internet complaining isn't really about villains being bad, more of like they just have issues with the character, and I feel like more often than not it's actually like good side characters that people have a I don't like the character issue, but like a good villain, or a character that's like irks you and makes you want to punch him square in the face, like Farazan. Ramsay Bolton is like number 1 on the list for me that comes to mind from Game of Thrones. Like the actor did a phenomenal job, but it's like if you saw that character in real life, you want to, punch him square in the face because there's such a dirtbag. So, like same with Farazan. So it's like it's not the actors, it's not the performance.
No, if anything,
you don't like the character because they're intentionally unlikable, and you want to hate them.
Yes,
which means they're doing a fantastic job.
For example, I know he's roasting Aarion this season, but it's just a testament to, the actors, her, Kevin, Farazan, they all did a really great job of becoming villains in a way. But I really do hope that she turns a different course, because I don't know if I was more so angry at her this season or just really ticked off that if my anger was just a mask for my sadness and rage that she had gone down that path. Sean, really good question. Are we still doing a 50K special? Yes, I freaking need to. I'll be completely honest, it slipped my mind, and then here we are 4,000 subscribers later. We just broke 54,000. And I was like, shoot, I still need to celebrate 50, so fear not. I think that could be fun to do. Give people heads up, make a video announcing the 50K celebration live stream and all of that and whatnot for those who want to enter in something to celebrate with, and could be fun to do during the holiday season. When the weather is shit and we all have nothing better to do. Speaking of, I know everybody was addressing it in the pregame. Feel bad that I haven't already mentioned it, but if you are in the way of Milton, y'all, I'm shocked if you're even watching this, but I hope that if you are, you're prepared and safe. I feel like it escalated so quickly, and now suddenly I can't look at the news without seeing that it's just getting worse by the second, and it's actually quite terrifying. So
yeah, for anybody in the southeastern United States, stay safe. If you need help, reach out for it. Check in on your friends and family, loved ones. But yeah, hope everybody is staying safe if you're in the southeastern U.S. because just got hit with the one hurricane that was bad enough, and then now Milton is storming across the Gulf, headed straight to Florida. So, hope everybody who's in the impact zone is doing all right.
Felipe asks a great question, which I could talk about forever when it comes to this show. What did you think about these new orcs, though? My personal opinion, nothing for me. I'll just disclaim and put it out there. Nothing for me I don't think will ever exceed the orcs from Peter Jackson's trilogy. And I think there's also just so much nostalgia and childhood unresolved fear there that I have. when it comes to them and just how, I think they looked way more unsightly and horrific and terrifying, and they are and will always just be the scariest thing in the world to me.
Not Azog the Defiler.
Azog is pixels. He's pixels. He's not real. So that's all to say. That's all to say. Anything real, anything practical, anything tangible, anything with a real human being who is being paid and acting and bringing their heart and soul to it, that's what I want to freaking see. So anything is a step up for me. And I'm so elated and happy that this show in particular went the extra mile to cast Adar's children with real people, real actors, give them all extremely unique looks. It's not like they're all identical and they just like slapped on one generic costume for all of them and it was like a cookie cutter. Like, gave them all very individual. Like, I can only imagine the hours, how big of a team of makeup artists they needed to execute all of this. And especially for the battle scenes where there's, yes, do they probably have a little bit of CGI going on in, for example, episode 7, the siege of Eregion and all of that.
Yeah, you're not gonna have 10,000 orcs.
Yes, but they still had a lot. They definitely still had a lot of.
It's you gotta do what you gotta do to have big, massive, epic battle scenes like that. And yeah, if the forefront orcs are real, then
that's all I care about.
Then you're gonna be happy.
Yes.
For me, I don't really care. As long as they look good, it doesn't really matter to me. Like, for me, in terms of on the CG topic, like the clones in Star Wars, all the clones in the prequels were totally CG. There wasn't any actual person. All the clones were CG, which is incredible because you watch like Revenge of the Sith, you don't think about that. I never knew that until years later. But then like you compare the way the clones look in Revenge of the Sith versus the live action clones and some of the like Mando flashbacks he's gotten and stuff. I actually think the Revenge of the Sith clones look better.
But there's something about that because that's the first version of them we ever saw, So like that's what we know to be the standard.
Maybe.
It's similar to how I feel like in The Mandalorian, we got so familiar with the use of the volume, which I still think Mando has some of the best examples of volume usage. Like,
the original volume user.
Yeah, it was, and I was team volume back in the day when Mando first came out. But then there was something about we got acquainted with that to when you could see they actually shot on location, probably for the episode where Boba Fett makes his return. And I feel like all of us were like, this looks wrong. Like, this looks weird, when in reality that was a real tangible place where they weren't in, I don't think, the volume. I think they were actually out in the desert.
Mojave.
Yeah.
Mojave Desert.
But I remember feeling like this doesn't look right. So I feel like when you get accustomed to, same way if, for example, we were introduced, the first ever orcs were CGI and looked like the ones on The Hobbit do. If that was my first ever impression and then we switched to practical ones, maybe I'd feel a little bit turned off. Now, do I wish the orcs in Rings of Power captured some of the same fear that I feel towards the orcs in the original, the trilogy? A little bit, and I'm curious to see if the character design will change because I do feel like right now they're very humanized so that you can feel a little bit of, I don't even know if sympathy is the right word you would want to use, but they're introduced to you as Adar's children. Yeah. So in order to see where he's coming from, for it to not be so irrational, like, these things are your kids, like, I think there's some humanized features about them. It's a little bit toned down. So I'm curious if now that Adar is out of the picture, you've kind of got your sympathy for the orcs out of the way because that they just, stabbed him in the back and things aren't going to start looking up for them, without him. He was the only one there left to protect them. So that they've sealed their worst fate here. So I'm curious if they'll start to kind of get a little more horrendous looking.
Well, I think what they really need to do is eat more meat. Meat's back on the menu, boys. Shout out Alice. That's a quote of the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yes.
Meat's back on the menu, boys. Either that or second breakfast. Or salted pork from Gimli. Salted pork.
Potatoes. I'm trying to think of what I say on a more regular basis. Anyway, I feel like I have a very generic question to pose for our poll this evening of did you or did you not like the finale? Is that too basic? Yes or no? Do you have a better idea in mind?
We could do yes or no or a rating.
Okay.
0 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and 10. Or just do 1 to 3. No one's going to give it a 0. 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9, 10.
Wait, what? Say that again. 1.
Just split the numbers up. You got 4
3
options.
out of
No.
10.
Okay. I think the out of 10 is implied, but
4 to...
now they're going to say, okay, you got to do 3 divided by 10, and then 1 minus that. PEMDAS. You know what PEMDAS is?
Yeah, I don't have to use it in my everyday life.
All right. Well, I'm just saying, you're writing a math equation here.
4 to 6.
Yeah, that works.
And then 7
to 9, and then a perfect 10. Let's do that.
Sorry, y'all. I swear, one of these days I'm gonna get a detachable keyboard so that I don't have to give the screen a mini earthquake every time we want to execute a poll. Poll positions! You may fire when ready. Rate the Rings of Power finale on a scale of 1 out of 3, 1 to 3 out of 10. No, don't end poll. I just freaking typed it out. 4 to 6 out of 10, 7 to 9 out of 10, or a perfect 10 out of 10. I like the Rings of Power orcs because they tap into Tolkien's discomfort with how he portrayed them in Lord of the Rings. In his notes and letters, he felt a bit that he had done them wrong because nothing is evil in the beginning. Oh, that's fair.
There you go,
yeah,
Bob.
it's very, very fair.
There you go.
Which is why I'm curious if they will evolve, as the seasons, the entire series progresses. AO says 7 to 9 out of 10 was good. Rained for the poll. Liked the math. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's girl math right there.
There you go. Nice math. AO's on board.
Which so far that is leading the majority. Danny, what's up?
Danny!
Master level member for 33 months. Holy shnikes. Felt very symbolic, so I thought I'd share. Wishing peace and love to everyone. Kat and Tom, what is your favorite part of the Lord of the Rings lore that you would love to see your film or trilogy about? Oh, Baron and Luthen from this. Literally anything from this book, but I absolutely loved. I forget where it is. Forget what chapter it's in. I actually freaking need to read this. Or frankly, honestly, even...
You've already read it.
I know, but I need to reread this.
Oh.
Because it's like an absolute mind frick. And I also sped read it thinking that this is what the Rings of Power was going to be about. And then I learned they didn't get the rights to anything in here. So they only very occasionally mention Feanor or Morgoth or, the kind of whole intro of season 1 of the show is pretty much the extent.
Yeah.
But truly, yes, anything in here. Honestly, yeah, maybe even some Morgoth content. But that would probably be very, very, very dark. I know you're a big Tom Bombadil fan. Would you like to see more of it?
No, I would like to see more Sauron.
Okay.
My biggest qualm with the Hobbit trilogy and the Lord of the Rings trilogy is that it's all about the threat of Sauron returning. And it's 6 movies about literally the looming threat of Sauron returning and the One Ring. But we don't see Sauron is in his peak prime, so this show, which is literally creating the Rings of Power and Sauron corrupting all of Middle-earth and him going to be in his prime, this show is hitting that. So for me, Danny, Sauron's rise to power and dominating, asserting his dominance over Middle-earth is what I would most like to see, which is why I'm very happy that we're getting the show, because that's what the show is about.
Somebody made a good point about difference between Sauron. Yes, Starnock says, I'd like to see the contrast between Adar's and Sauron's rule, otherwise the humanization is wasted. Really good point. Felipe comments, Adar's death caught me off guard. Was it just me? No, I'm fully in the same boat, and I'm really upset that his character's gone. I kind of didn't really have time to process because then shit hits the fan immediately as Sauron engages Galadriel in combat and whatnot, but I didn't really have a chance to process, and I actually am really upset because Adar, I think, was such an interesting, really intriguing original character for this show that felt very much like he fit into this world perfectly. He had so much intrigue. I just thought every scene he was in, I was just glued to my screen. Like, just such a commanding character, and both actors. Like, that's a testament as well that, like, nothing about the character feels disjointed in spite of the fact that, you know, they recast between the two seasons. Like, I feel like that's a really impressive feat that they were able to have two different actors portray this role, and nothing about how I felt about the character changed at all during that transition. So I'm really sad that he's gone as a character, and I do think it would be very interesting to see, you know, he is so, and some things are better left, you know, off screen, as I say sometimes. You know, for example, you can only fathom the torture that he underwent, you know, at the hands of Morgoth in order to become who he did. Same with Sauron. Like, your brain can conceive worse things, and they can only convey so much through their, you know, concealed trauma when they retell the story of how they both, you know, got to that kind of shared similar state. They were tortured in order to get there. So it could be interesting to see, you know, Adar's life before and whatnot, but I think it's better left to the imagination, you know, better untapped, because he very clearly expresses, this is not who I am anymore. This isn't my identity any longer. So it is really interesting that you see him restored, and yet he still chooses to be, you know, his tortured, battered self, if it means he can still be their father. So yeah, I'm so sad that he's
Do you swear
gone.
allegiance to Adar?
The Silmarillion is like a Bible. It really does freaking feel like that. And maybe I will read or rather listen to the audiobook, as Charlie has been suggesting, because it is quite the read / listen, I imagine. So yes, everybody's still in favor. Majority. We have a few in the 1 to 3 out of 10. That's fine. 4 to 6 out of 10. Majority out here in 7 to 9 out of 10 range. It's probably where I would fall, and then 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I would go 7 to 9 range as well.
Yes. So. 36 people watching, 25 votes. Let's get in there, y'all, unless you're one of our loyal followers who just... I love that some of you are always lurking, always here. I shouldn't use the word lurking. Some of you are always showing up, no matter what. Even if you're like, I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but I love listening to you chat or whatever. Like, you guys are the true OGs. Oh, Andy Serkis does the audiobook. That's right. I forgot about that. Good comment here from AO. Baron and Luthien is kind of more detailed in the book. Children of Hurin. Okay. In comparison to the Silmarillion. Then I will maybe look into that, because I absolutely loved that storyline. But truly, I would literally... I remember reading this being like, holy shiz, I can't wait for Rings of Power. Then I learned that nothing about the show has anything to do with this book. And then I was like, well, holy shit, why wouldn't they do anything with this book? Wait, I said it! Whoops! Yeah. Sorry! Oh my god, y'all. I'm so sorry, I cursed. Listen, you guys, I've just let my guard down.
What the?
I've released my inhibitions with these Reactober reactions, y'all. Some things are just so scary that I can't just say frick. I have to say the full word. I bleep everything out. Everything is always bleeped. I don't let anything slip. Unless you guys are my channel members, in which case you hear it unfiltered. If we do watch parties, which we will definitely be doing another one, because I think I'm going to end all of this with The Conjuring, which I am the most scared for, and I need to recruit you guys again from virtual moral support. So that is a shameless plug. If you are a channel member, you get access to some of my full unedited, and join me live for watch parties and reactions. And particularly, I need it here for these horror reactions. But anyway, all of this is to say that I've just been cursing like a sailor in these videos, and I'm like, shoot, I gotta stop that when October ends. We have heard it before, sister. I know, but I've set such a standard for myself now on the channel that whenever I do swear, it's like, everyone's shocked. Remember that time I accidentally did it during
Stanley's swearing cat. Seriously, my disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. Me too, Stanley.
Oh God.
Me too.
Unfiltered cat is the best cat.
No, for me, it's weird to hear say frick because
I don't say that in my everyday life.
Yeah, so it's quite the dichotomy of a situation.
Listen,
here.
I look at it this way. I'm still very much. I think the society, it's still taboo for a woman to friggin' curse a lot, which is why I censor myself, because if I were to be out here cursing at the rate that I normally would, unfiltered, then I'd have people up in here like, that's not ladylike.
Well, the reality is you don't need to do it. You don't need to curse.
Sometimes you have. I'm sorry. Have you ever watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I don't know if I have, to be honest. So
what?
I don't know if I have.
What?
I don't know if I have. Maybe I have.
You're the one who freaking told me to watch that.
I might have watched it. Maybe I did. I haven't seen any of these horror movies in like a decade, but I've seen most of the ones you've watched. So like I don't even remember exactly which ones I've watched and which ones I haven't watched. So like I know for a fact I've seen The Conjuring and The Exorcist and Nightmare on Elm Street. Cabin in the Woods and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like I think I've seen those, but maybe not. I don't really remember. So I don't know. Maybe I have or not. So, did you like it?
You're the one who I only freaking watched that. No.
Oh.
Anyone who values their life should not watch that movie. I have not been the same since. I would rather rewatch The Exorcist than that movie. Well, sorry, folks. I just had an existential crisis because I've been living in a state of regret having watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Listen, it makes for a great reaction. And that's half the reason I set out on this Reactober venture to begin with, because you guys know I'm not a big horror fan. You watched me play Outlast last year, and that was taking like 10 years off of my life. It was so freaking scary. But the moral was by the end of that game, nothing fazed me anymore. I was a pro. I was ready. None of the jump scares got me. I was just so freaking deranged and crazed and ready for it to be over. So I didn't even have the energy to be scared. Felipe, thank you for being here. It was great to chat with everyone. Gotta go now, but I have a nice live and a good night. Might be back for another live if there's ever one. There is every Tuesday. Every Tuesday we are here at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. So we are here same time, same place every single week, talking about whatever we're currently watching. I guess topic of conversation after this week is probably going to shift to Penguin, or maybe we'll have some full streams dedicated to horror and stuff like that. So, so yes, thank you so much for joining, and we hope to see you again for another one.
Yeah.
Please start a gaming channel, says Jason. I've thought about it, y'all. I can't do any gaming stuff currently because of the SAG strikes, but I've thought about... I might.
She does, Jason, there's plenty of gaming clips and videos and streams on this channel. So.
But I have not gamed since we played Outlast.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So it's been a year.
Yeah.
It has been a year. Well, also that game just took the life out of me, and I kind of needed a year to recalibrate after that. But yeah, so there's a little sneak peek of our docket for the rest of the month of October. And if for some reason the SAG strike for video games were to end soon, I would love to play Alien Isolation, you know, so.
Outlaws.
Yeah, I still have to do Outlaws. Yeah. There's a lot I want to do. I really want to do Halo because
Grand Theft Auto.
I still got to do Red Dead. I've been promising that forever. There's so much I want to do. So, Outlast, good times. If you guys were here for that, you are real ones.
There's some hilarious shorts that Kat has posted. So if you go to Catherine's short page and then scroll down a little bit past Dork Discourse clips, there should be some Outlast stuff in there.
Ooh, those are exactly a year ago.
The dude in the wheelchair is one of my favorite ones.
Oh,
when
God.
You get jump scared by the wheelchair. I mean, just mind your own business, and then you got to go instigate and then he jumps at you. So hilarious.
Julian makes a really good comment here.
Charlie, the poor man cat murdered in the chair. Exactly.
Yep,
Exactly, Charlie. It's exactly what I'm talking about. That poor guy just sitting in his wheelchair, mind his own business, and then cat goes and kills him.
As I was saying, Julian says, I hated how Arondir was just magically fine after dying in the last episode. I do agree with this, and somebody, perhaps it was you, Julian, who left a note in my comment section of my reaction that it felt like there was a scene missing there. You know, there had been some reveal, or perhaps Gil-galad, you know, healed him with the ring or whatnot. I don't know, but they went out of their way to make it very dramatic, very intentional, to set you up with genuine fear that he could actually have been slain by Adar. The cliffhanger nature of it all, I was like, if they're gonna kill him off proper, they're not gonna do it between episodes like this. So I assumed that that was not a fatal wound for him, but it was still pretty severe. And then he was just fine walking the next time we saw him. So I do agree with that. They got me all scared for nothing, and even though I suspected that he was okay, they never really addressed, well, how he got pretty severely stabbed.
And it was the same with Galadriel, though. Stabbed with Morgoth's crown, like she was near death and was healed by the ring.
Well, that's why I'm saying, you know,
Arondir,
that's
probably
why
the same thing happened with him.
There's probably a scene missing where we see Gil-galad healing him. However, they make a point to show Gil-galad turning his ring inside out so the orcs wouldn't take it or suspect it. You know, he was concealing it, so might have been bold for him to do that on the battlefield when they were overwhelmed anyway. I don't even know if he would have had a split second to try to save Arondir, so it does feel like maybe there was some sort of explanation, or even just a missing piece in all of that between where we left off with him and where we see him again in the finale. But so I agree though. But
or he just had great armor, like Al says.
Yeah,
it looks like Versace armor, so it's probably Versace, Gucci, Prada, some type of fancy Elvish.
They've got that in Middle Earth, y'all. So. Sponsored by Gucci. Yeah. I left the missing scene comment. That was you, Bob. Thank you. I'm quoting you. Thank you for taking credit. But yes, I agree with that completely. It just felt like maybe it was too seamless. He was very much dead looking and then perfectly fine. But all of this is to say, I definitely want to do a larger season 2 review, share more in-depth thoughts on character arcs and some things that we've already discussed from this stream here tonight. I feel like maybe it's not even I wanted to kind of gear most of the conversation to the finale tonight, but I knew that it was going to segue and bleed into just how we feel about the season overall. But who cares? I might still do a video just in hindsight. And also, what the frick else are we going to talk about for the next 2 years? I gotta find some way to milk this show for all I can.
The projects are slim in the near term in the grand scheme of sci-fi fantasy entertainment.
Well,
Skeleton Crew, Last of Us Season 2 coming out soon.
The Dune series.
Penguins going on. Those are the ones that are coming to the top of my head right now.
Dune. The Dune Bene Gesserit show coming up on HBO. Yeah. I think that's in November, potentially.
Probably won't watch that.
That's gonna be good. I'm gonna force you to watch that. You are the biggest Dune hater, and then you turn around and you're like, this is the best thing ever.
Also great live. Another reason to go see Hans Zimmer.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, his tour is over. He ended his tour in Los Angeles. So
okay.
You'll have to catch him next time, y'all. But also, we've binged all his videos. You can find them on YouTube, and there's great, very professional quality videos on YouTube. Tar Palantir, what's up? Hi, Catherine. Hello. Thank you for being here. Unfortunately, you're tuning in right towards the tail end here, but thank you for being here and blessing us with your presence.
Yeah, Dune 2 is a fantastic movie, Julian. So.
Yeah, but you were the biggest Dune 1 hater for so long.
It took me like 4 times to watch it all the way through without falling asleep.
Yeah, I know.
When I finally did, it's a good movie. And Dune 2 is a fantastic movie. So.
Didn't sleep once.
No.
Tom fell asleep in the theater. Y'all have heard me say that a million times. Also, real quick, before we go, we need you guys to sound off. We actually genuinely need your advice. If you have seen Joker 2, please comment. No spoilers, but let us know if we should go see it in theater,
I don't
if
even
we
know
should
if I want to
go.
talk about it because it's still.
We've not seen it. We have not seen it, and we are still on the fence of whether we should just go and formulate our own opinions. I don't want to let the internet and all of the commentary that's come out about it. We might feel differently. I want to be able to form our own judgment and go see it in theater because we'll never be able to see it in theaters again. And for how good the first one was. All right, Charlie's going tomorrow. Let us know what you think, Charlie. If any of you have seen it, let us know if we should go. But we're very much debating, so I was like,
Yeah, I don't know if it's worth the risk because I saw Joker, the first one, like 3 or 4 times in theaters when it came out because I loved it so much. And then when they first announced that this was like a total 180 musical, Lady Gaga, and then now all the other negative feedback that's coming in just about the plot in general and the creative decisions, and it's like if this is a totally different tone and movie and plot that is just nothing to do with the first one, I don't even know if I want to associate myself with it because I love the first Joker movie so much.
You don't want to ruin it.
Yeah. And I certainly would rather, I think, right now, wait to watch it on a streaming platform that we already pay for versus going to drop $50 to go see it in the movie theater. But if it's all just... But then the other side, like The Acolyte, for example, she and I both love The Acolyte. Majority of the planet hates The Acolyte with a passion.
I wouldn't say that.
Is it a case like that where we think The Acolyte is great, but majority of people don't like it? The majority of people don't like Joker. So maybe we'd feel that way. But I mean, all the criticism that I've seen, it's like, okay, it makes sense that could happen. And as soon as they said that it was a musical, I was like, what? Is this some like The Onion, like spoof journalism company that's writing this article saying that Joker 2 is going to be a musical? I was like, what? This can't be real. And it's like, oh no, it's from like the Hollywood Reporter or Variety saying like, oh yeah, Joker 2 is going to be a musical and Lady Gaga is going to be in it. So it's going to be like A Star is Born, but Joker universe. And how does that have anything to do with what they did in the first Joker movie? So I'm very hesitant and am afraid to ruin the first Joker movie.
Well, a lot of you have been sounding off. I think Bob of the Old Ways puts it perfectly. Joker 2. Wait to see it on streaming. That's all I'll say. So, perhaps Alice has been sharing anecdotes about her friends who've gone and are suggesting not to spend the money on it, so who knows. I'm just gonna wait for it to be on streaming. Yeah, we'll see. I just kind of, whenever something is getting buzz and chatter like this, I'm curious to see if I'll just go with the crowd,
go against the grain and actually like
it, because I have seen people on Twitter say I actually kind of liked this, like form your own opinion. So
I'm sure someone's gonna like it.
I'm curious, but
someone's gonna like everything.
Wanted to put a feeler out to see how y'all were.
It's thinking. Like someone's favorite character in Rings of Power is the Harfoots. So
oh my god, I'm
sure it's out there.
Way to bring it full circle.
Gotta bring it full circle. I'm sure someone is diehard Harfoot and doesn't like anything else in the show, and to them, I applaud you because you're finding the good in whatever you watch.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much on that note for joining us. Whether you like the Joker 2, whether you like the Harfoots or not, we appreciate you joining us.
Whether you hope the Harfoots show up in Joker 3, we'll see.
Crossover of the century.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper will show up in Joker 3.
Oh goodness.
As a Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy.
What the heck are you even saying? It's that time
Bradley
where we
Cooper
have to go.
Voices Rocket from Guardians of the
Galaxy. What the frick does that have to do with the Harfoots or
because
Joker?
I said A Star is Born, and Bradley Cooper's the co-star with Lady Gaga on A Star is Born. And like Bradley Cooper can show up in the Joker.
I did not hear that.
And then I was like, okay, why would Bradley Cooper just himself show up in the Joker?
That was a very crucial part.
I don't know the character's name of Bradley Cooper in A Star is Born. So I was like, okay, what else is Bradley Cooper? First thing was Rocket. Maybe it's American Sniper.
Anyway, all that said,
Rings of Power is great.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Later.
We appreciate it. We'll catch you guys again, same time, same place. Thanks for joining us again and for showing up. You guys, some of you guys showed up after we took the week off, so thank you for not punishing us or hating us and for coming back. We missed y'all. It felt like the longest week ever without it, and it was good to be back. So thank you guys very much for joining. We hope you have a great rest of your day, night, morning, evening, 3 a.m., wherever you may be. And we'll catch you guys again next week for whatever we may be talking about. But until then, hope you guys are doing so very well as always. And we will see you guys again very, very soon.
Have a good one, everybody.
And stay safe, everybody in the way of Milton. Please.
Yes.
Please stay safe.
Yeah, if those in hurricane path, do what you need to do to keep yourself and your family safe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanking of you guys.
Yes.
We will see you guys. I'll catch you guys Friday for my next Reactober video. But until then, take care, everybody, and we'll see you guys soon.
Hasta la vista.